YouTube, I'm sending some good vibrations to whoever is watching this. You don't know me, I don't know you. But thanks for watching this video. You didn't click on this video by accident. Everything happens, everything is in motion. In this video, I'm going to talk of caution. So now, you gotta understand this. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to the law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of caution, but nothing escapes the law. So, the great sixth Hermetic principle, the principle of cause and effect, embodies the truth that the law pervades the universe, that nothing happens by chance, that chance is merely a term indicating cause existing but not recognized or perceived, that the phenomena is continuous without break or exception. So now, the principle of cause and effect underlines all scientific thought, ancient and modern, was encountered by the Hermetic teachers in the earliest days, while many debates between the many schools of thought have since arisen. The debates have been principally upon the details of the operation of the principle, and still more often upon the meaning of certain words. So now, underlying the principle of cause and effect has been accepted as correct by practice. All the thinkers of the world worth of the name, to think otherwise would be to take the phenomena of the universe from the domain of law and order, and to regenerate it to the control of the imaginary, something which men have called chance. Chance doesn't exist. Luck doesn't exist. Everything happens by cause. You are the cause. Everything happens by cause. Everything emanates from the mind. You gotta understand this, or you gotta know this. Everything emanates from the mind. You are the creator of your own reality. You are creating your reality. You have been creating your reality from the moment you came here. You are the co-creator of your own reality. So, a little consideration will show any that there is in reality no such thing as pure chance. Webster defines the word chance as flows, a supposed agent or mode of activity other than a force, law, or purpose. The operation of activity such agent, the supposed effect of such an agent. A happening cause, but a little consideration will show you that there can be no such thing as chance in the sense of something outward or outside the law, something outside of cause and effect. How could there be a something acting in the phenomenal universe independent of the laws? order, and consistency of the latter, such a something would be entirely independent of the ordinary trend of the universe and therefore superior to it. So now we imagine nothing outside of the all being outside of the law, and that's because the all is the law itself. There is no room in the universe for a something outside of an independent law. The existence of such a thing would render all natural laws ineffective and would impart the universe into chaotic disorder and law of lawlessness. A careful examination will show that what we call chance is merely an expression relating to obscure causes that cannot perceive, causes that cannot understood. The word chance is derived from a word meaning to fall, as the falling of dice. The idea being that the fall of the dice and many other happenings are merely happening and related to any cause. So, and understanding in this the sense in which the term is generally employed, but when the matter is closely examined, it is seen that there is no chance, and whatsoever you put in your head about the fall of the dice, each time a, each time a die falls and displays a certain number, it obeys a law of infallible as that which governs the revolution of planets around the sun. Back of the fall of the die are causes or chains of cause running back further than the mind can flow. The position of the die in the box, the amount of muscular energy expanded in the throw, the condition of the table, all are causes, the effect which may be seen, but the back of these seen causes are chains of unseen preceding causes, all of which are bearing upon the number of the die which fell upmost. So now, if a die be cast a great number of times, it will be found that the number shown will be about equal. That is, there will be an equal number of one spot to two spot coming upmost. So, toss a penny in the air and it may come down either heads or tails, but make a sufficient number of toss and the heads and tails will about even up. This is the operation of the law of average, but both the average and single toss come under the law of cause and effect, and if we were able to examine into the preceding cause, it would be clearly seen that it was simply impossible for the die to fall other than it did under the same circumstance, that at the same point or time. Given the same cause, the same results will follow. There is always a cause and a because to every event. Nothing ever happens without a cause, or rather a chain of causes. Some confusion has arisen in the minds of persons considering this principle from the fact that they were unable to explain how one thing could cause another thing, that is, be the creator of the second thing. As a matter of fact, no thing ever causes or creates another thing. Cause and effect deals merely with events. An event is that which comes alive or happens as a result or conquest of some preceding event. So now, you gotta understand this, or you gotta know this. No event creates another event, but merely a preceding link in the great ordinary chain of events flowing from creative energy of the all. There is consistency between all events precedent in quality of subsequent. There is relation existing between everything that has gone before and everything that flows. A stone is dislodged from a mountain side and crashes through a roof of a catalog in the valley below. At, at first sight, we regard this as a chance effect, but when we examine the matter, we find a great chain of cause behind it. In its first place, there was a rain which softened the earth supporting the stone and which allowed it to fall. And then back, that was the influence of the sun, other rains, which regardlessly distinguished the piece of rock from a larger piece. So then there were the causes which led to the formation of the mountain, or deformation of the mountain, and it upfell by the conversion of nature, and so on ad infinitum. Then we might follow up the cause behind the rain. Then we might consider the existence of the roof. In short, we would soon find ourselves involved in a mesh of cause and effect from which we would soon retrieve to extrive ourselves. Just as man has 2 parents and 4 grandparents and 8 great-grandparents and 16 great-great-grandparents, and so on until generations and generations calculated the numbers of ancestors running into millions and millions of existence in the multiverse or universe. So we live in many universes. So it is with the number of causes behind even the most terrifying event or phenomena, such as the passage of a tiny speck of shot before your eye. It is not an easy matter. Period of the world history when it formed a part of a massive tree trunk, which was afterward converted into core, and so on until as the speck of shot in its path before your vision on its way to the other adventures. And a mighty chain of event causes and effects brought it to its present condition, and the latter is but one of the chain of events which will go to produce other events hundreds of years from now. So now, one of these series of events arise from the tiny bit of thought was the writing of these rhymes, which caused the type sector to perform certain work, the proofreader to do likewise, and which will corral certain thoughts in your mind and that of others, which in turn will affect others, and so on and so on and on and on, beyond the ability of men to think further, and all from the passage of a tiny bit of thought, all of which shows the relative and association of things, and the further fact that there is no great, there is no small in the mind that cause the all. So now, stop to think a moment. If a certain man had not met a certain maid away back in the mid period of Stone Age, you would, or you who now reading this, or the one who's listening this, wouldn't be here. If perhaps the same couple had failed to meet, we would now write this, or we would watch not now be not here, or exist in the 3D reality. So now, you gotta understand this, or you gotta know this. The act of knowing yourself is the act of everything. You are the causer of your reality. Everything comes from the mind. So will affect not you will affect not only the repetitive lives of yourself and ourselves, but will also have a direct and indirect effect upon many other people now living and who will live in the ages to come. Every thought we think, every act we perform has its direct and indirect results which fit into the great chain of cause and effect. So, we do not wish to enter into consideration of free will or determination in this work for various reasons. Among the many reasons in the principle, one that neither side of the contrary is entirely right. In fact, both sides are particularly right according to the Hermetic teachings. So now, the principle of polarity shows that both are but half truth, the opposing poles of truth. The teachings are that a man may be both free and yet bound by necessity, depending upon the meaning of the terms, and the highest of truth from which the matter is examined. The ancient writers expressed the matter thus: the further the creation is from the center, the more it is bound. The nearer the center it reaches, the nearer free it is. So, the majority of people are more or less the slaves of heredity. environment and manifested very little of freedom. They are swayed by the opinion, customs, and thoughts of the outside world. They are trapped in the 3D reality. They don't want to realize themselves that they are the causes, not the effect. So, and by their emotions, feelings, modes, they manifest no mastery, wealth of the name. They they stuck saying why certainly I'm free to act and do as I please. I do just what I want to do, but they fail to explain when arise they want to and as they please. What makes them want to do one thing is preference to another. While well or will because some feelings, mood, emotions, or environmental suggestions arouses tendency or desire within him so to do so. So the majority of people are carried along like the falling stone, obedient to the environment, outside influence, and internal modes, desires, not to not to speak of the desire and wills of others stronger than themselves. Heredity, environment, and suggestions carrying them along without resistance of their parts or the exercise of the will. So, like they move like pawns on the checkerboard of life. They move like zombies. They have no brains. They don't think. They think on the outside world, but actually, in truth, it's merely the in world. They play their parts and are laid aside after the game is over. But the masters, knowing the rules of the game, arise above the plane of material life and placing themselves in touch with the higher powers of their nature, dominate their own moods, characters, qualities, and polarity, as well as the environment surrounding them, thus become the movers in the game instead of pawns, causes instead of effects. So now you gotta understand this, or you gotta know this. The masters do not escape the cohesion of the higher planes, but fall in with the higher laws, and thus masters circumstances on the lower plane. They form a conscious part of the law, instead being mere blind instruments. While they serve on the higher plane, they rule on the material plane, but on the higher plane and the lower, the law is always operation. There is no such thing as chance. The blind godness has been abolished by reason. We are able to see now with eyes made clear by knowledge that everything is governed by universal law, that the infinite number of laws are able in manifestations of one great law, the law which is the all. And this is true indeed, that not a sparrow drops unnoticed by the mind of the all, that even the hairs on our head are numbered. As the scriptures have said, there is nothing outside of law. nothing that happens contrary to it, and yet do not make the mistake of supposing that man is but a blind automaton. Far from that. The Hermetic teachings are that man may use law to overcome laws, and that the higher will always prevail against the lower, until at last he has reached the stage in which he seeks refuge in the lowest itself. So you gotta understand this, or you gotta know this. The inner world is the real world. What makes them please to do this and do not do that is they are no, because there is pleasing and wanting. The master can change these pleases and wants into other at the opposite end of the material or mental poles. He is able to will instead to be used. So you gotta understand this. You gotta know yourself. You gotta know yourself. Because the people who are on top of mind control, they don't even participate in the physical plane. They just want us to control us so that we don't reach their level. They want us trapped in the 3D reality. They don't want us to see the truth. But it's up to you to see the truth. You are the one who's creating the life. You are the one who clicked on this video. Nothing happens by chance. Everything is calculated. Everything is numbered. That's all I wanted to talk about in this video. Thanks for watching. Nature be with you.